All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to today's episode of The Outlet, Lunch and Learn with SheTek's Extraordinary Women. Today's episode is the 8th episode in our ongoing SheTek webinar series. 8 episodes already. At SheTek, we are so proud that we're able to create these webinars to help you all with strategies and support in negotiation, success, risk-taking, and so much more. It's only through your contributions, questions, comments, and emails that we're able to keep growing the outlet into the webinar that you love to plug into. Thank you so much to anyone who's been a part of our previous episodes of the outlet. I'm Meg Virag, Program Coordinator and Community Manager over at SheTek, and I'll be your host today. We'll be recording today's webinar, and we'll post a link to the recording on the SheTek Power community as soon as it's available. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel, SheTek Global, where all our videos are posted, including past episodes of the outlet and recent SheTek virtual conference, SheTek trainings, interviews with Chaya, and so much more. Right now, all of our attendees are muted by default, and we'll have time for a Q&A with today's guests after our interview. You can submit all your questions in the chat box or in the Q&A box as they come to mind. We'll let you know that it's been received, and then we'll be sure to get those questions answered at the end of today's session. Today's episode of The Outlet is brought to you by SheTek Inc., a nonprofit organization registered in New Jersey dedicated to increasing the number of women in the tech pipeline. Today's episode is titled Overcoming Adversity and Taking Advantage of Unexpected Opportunities. We're talking to two extraordinary women today, our own Chaya Pamula, SheTek founder and PamTen president and CEO, and Carol Gabel, president of risk management company Seven Pearls LLC, passionate lobbyist and media expert with experience in TV, radio, podcasts, and more. Chaya Pamula is SheTek's co-founder and also the co-founder, CEO, and president, or SheTek's founder, and the co-founder, CEO, and president of PamTen, one of our sponsors here on the outlet. PamTen is an award-winning global IT services and staffing organization, conceptualizing innovative software products and solutions for its clients and overseeing those from development all the way to implementation. Through her work leading PamTen, Chaya saw for herself the challenges of hiring women in the tech field. Though jobs were available, Chaya didn't see many applications from women in technology. Chaya then went on to found SheTek to increase the number of women in the tech staffing pipeline. Chaya combined her business acumen and passion for charity to found Sofkin. You can read more at sofkin.org. It's a nonprofit organization that operates in the United States and in India and creates loving and caring homes for over 100 children in need. Let's talk about Carol now, with our special guest today. With over 20 years of executive management with 2 state chambers of commerce, Carol Gabel has worked with 5 government administrations and hundreds of legislators and elected officials. Carol has counseled thousands of businesses on how to attract new clients, mitigate their risks, and to maximize their growth potential. Areas of mitigation can include in human resources, regulatory compliance, legal, accounting, insurance, disaster planning, and security. So you can see that Carol is really experienced in a lot of wide-ranging areas there. Carol is also a member of the New Jersey State Bar Association's Cybersecurity Legal Task Force. Her cybersecurity clients include a number of small business development centers, veterans, insurance companies, and top universities in New Jersey. Carol also currently serves on the board of the GI Go Fund, which assists veterans, active duty personnel, their family members, veteran supporters, and all members of the military community with finding employment, connecting to their benefits, and accessing housing opportunities. She's also received numerous awards for work as domestic violence crisis counselor and also with juvenile conference committee. Rounding out Carol's broad swath of experience, she's also a paralegal and also licensed in both life and health insurance. We are so glad that you can join us on SheTek's The Outlet today, Carol. I'm going to hand it over to Chaya now. If you want to start your video, I might have to send you over a signal to let you. There we go. There we go. So, Carol, you should see on your side a little signal saying that you can start up your video.
Okay.
Like now we can see
There
it.
you go.
Hi.
Hello. Thanks, Meg. Hey, Carol. So good to see you.
Hi, Chaya. Oh my gosh, it's like old times, right?
Yes. So we go a long way, right? I mean, I still remember the day that we met in my office, and over time we became friends. And I don't know, we've done so many things together. So it's so good to have you, Carol.
Thank you, Chaya. Thank you, Meg. This is a great opportunity. I love the name, The Outlet, and that's just what all we need right now, with COVID, and it's a perfect time of day, lunchtime. I hope everybody has a sandwich. I have a little tea. So cheers to everybody. It's just great. It's a great idea. It's what we need right now. We all need to talk about what's going on, right, Chaya?
Yes, of course. Yep. And as you know, we can talk for hours.
That's going to be a problem today for me anyway, because we have so much background together and friendship and, so many things that we've done together. So I'm going to have to really be focused.
But I appreciate, Carol, for you taking time to get onto this panel. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that we'll be talking today. But I want to get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So, Carol, one thing I want to say, I got to learn more about you and your great qualities. And one thing, I see you as a very positive person who sees good in everything. And that's something I truly appreciate. So I know that this can go for very long, but one thing that stands out in your journey is you reflect tremendous amount of boldness and diversity throughout your journey. So can you tell us about why you think you've never shied away from pursuing what you think is best for you?
Yes. So thank you, Chaya. You reflect on your life and you say, how did I get here, right? I oftentimes think about, a mountain, and you get to the peak at a certain age, you look back and you say, how did I get here? So I think I've never really been a shy person, and I've been encouraged. I've been encouraged by people around me. A lot of times I remember even being young, if one of my classmates couldn't say something, they're like, could you tell the teacher? And I would just raise my hand and be the one that would, speak for them, and I was always encouraged by my parents and people around me. If you have something to say, as long as you say it with respect, and as you said, be positive and have a little grace in how you say it, just say it, right? Nothing can go wrong. And we're always so afraid. And I remember a situation where you did the same thing, and I was sitting right next to you. And I was like, no, it's good. We're going to ask him for the money. And you raised your hand, and you did. And you did it with grace, and it happened. I think a lot of it has to do with confidence instilled from other people, from outside of you. And then as you get older and as you age, you gather that confidence, and it just becomes part of you.
That's very true, Carol. I think the confidence is the first thing that plays. As you start to see success in your life, your self-confidence becomes stronger and stronger. So for people in their initial, very beginning of their career, it is very difficult. I used to be a very naive person, right? So very shy to ask questions or to raise hand or even to make any comment. Before I even have to ask questions, I would be procrastinating for a long time. So I think we all learn through the experience, especially somebody like me who came to this country, being an immigrant and learning the culture and still being having to be bold. I think it's quite a challenge for people, but over the time, yes, you're very right. So we need to start to acknowledge our own capabilities.
Yes. I think, yeah, it's important. And, no one said it would be easy, Chaya, right? I can remember moving, like yourself, being an immigrant, not from another country, from another city. And it was very different. And when I was in first grade, they said to my mother, she's not really up to speed with these other kids. I don't know how we're going to get her there. And my mother said, she will get there, give her a chance, And there was a gentleman, it was a young boy at the time, who was in 8th grade, and he spoke Polish. He couldn't speak English. And I would help him with his English, and he would help me read, in our books. So we helped one another through it. And the two of us did just fine. I managed to get through first grade.
Wow. That's great. So, one thing, I'm a strong believer in the saying, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending, right? And I always see that it's pretty evident in your journey. So because you've dipped in your toes into many different types of careers, and I know when Meg was reading your bio, I don't think that was enough. It's a summary of your bio, but you kind of moved into so many careers of being a lobbyist, TV, radio, presenter, and hosting events, podcasts, being on the chamber events and running those events, and then also, coming from you were a hairdresser at some point. You still love that. You're passionate about it, and then now look at you. You're running a company. So it's something, it's very interesting to see you moving in these multiple directions and having to do so many different things. The diversity, and you're so versatile in your career as also. So what do you think has allowed you to succeed in so many different avenues? Is there a common thread? Did you
Yes.
look for a common thread?
Yes. Yes. And it is, and, Meg had commented when she heard my story, she said, it's really unusual that you're involved in regulatory businesses, that are, risk concerned, and yet you're always taking risks. It's kind of funny, but the common denominator, I believe, is curiosity. It's curiosity and the love of learning. So I never stop learning. I'm just really all day long. People that know me really well always say, when do you sleep? It's sort of like you, Chaya, it's this unsatiable desire to learn about things, the universe, education, but also people. They fascinate me. I have a love of people and relationships. So I think the combination of the education, I'm an avid reader, and I never miss an opportunity, to learn about something new. I try to learn something new every day. And, it's funny, Eleanor Roosevelt, she said, do something that scares you once a day. And I really have always thought about that. And I intentionally do something that will scare me a little, because that means I'm growing. If you stay in your little cocoon and you never leave, that's where you're going to stay, in that little cocoon. And that scares me way more than jumping out of it. So I think there's probably a number of common denominators, but I think the biggest one really is the drive, like the desire to want to be bigger than yourself, right? And that's another one of those threads. And you have that thread too, where it really isn't me. It's not my ego that makes me want to do all this. It's being an advocate, speaking on behalf of others that can't speak, or, being a little nosy and minding people's business. They tell you mind your own business, but I like minding your business. I am sincerely passionate about it. It's not it's licensed. I am licensed in a lot of areas, and I do my homework, and I really enjoy that. But when I'm done with the education and the compliance part, what really makes me happy is getting out there and doing it, communicating. That's really important too. Communicating to others what you know. I think it's almost an obligation in your lifetime, which as well, whether it's in your business, like you do with PamTen or SheTek, or if it's Softkin, your passion project. I just think it's there's only so much time, Chaya. Like, we only have so much time in an hour. I think that way about my life. Like, there's only so much time, and every day I wake up, I'm like, so what am I going to do today? I don't want to miss out.
Like me. You sound like me. But one thing, you made an interesting point. Do one thing that scares you, right? Do you have an example you want to share with us?
Oh, I have so many. Geez, every day. I mean, I'm working on very large deals, and I'm, what if, but what if this happens? And then I talk to myself. I'm a big, proponent of talking to yourself, whether it's really out loud or, I'll ask myself these questions like, well, what happens if this happens? So most of the time it isn't life-threatening, Chaya. I'm not a brain surgeon. I did not go and get my medical degree. So I don't have to worry about cutting up somebody, and I don't have to worry about handling somebody's finances. Those two areas scare me a lot. I don't want to be responsible for either one of those, but everything else is kind of fair game for me, So One time I was really frightened, and it involved the conference that you were at, with the 400 guests, and it included, the former governor, congresswoman, the governor's wife. I know we had photos. I don't know if there are any, but what was scary was I didn't agree with the theme of the conference. So the theme of the conference was climbing the ladder. And it really bothered me that, that was the title of the conference, because I don't believe in it, and it was a risk, and I was a little afraid because I was being really bold, and I took a red pen and I crossed it off and I said, redefining the ladder. And, I had to negotiate my way through that and get backup info. So it turned out that Arianna Huffington was actually quoted in saying that it really, that is not what we do as women. We don't climb ladders or, like smash ceilings and do all those things. We're redefining our own ladder. But I was a wreck, because I was the one that made that decision, and I was granted the ability to do so. And there were going to be all these amazing women and men at this event, and you were at the event, so And the lieutenant governor got up on stage and she said, I don't know who it was that took the red pen and crossed off climbing, but congratulations. I'm really glad she did that, because we are not climbing ladders.
Yeah, I remember my conversation with you when I saw that too. I said it's such an innovative way of, calling out this event, because, these are we should stop thinking that we still have to do things. And we have to be positive about some, and also we should recognize some of the achievements women have made. I mean, you can still go back to the whole conventional way of defining who
Right.
we are. And I really loved it. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think a lot has to do with comparing. Women, we compare ourselves all the time. My hair, my this, my that, am I good enough? Am I going to speak okay? Am I, we're always this negative thinking in our heads, that's so damaging. And I fell into that. And then I became afraid, right? I thought, this is a big event. I didn't sleep the whole night the night before. And it wasn't because I couldn't sleep. There was so much to be done, and there comes a point that you have to stop and you just have to do it. Perfectionist like you are, I am, you're always putting the final touch. Like, is it almost done? Is it almost done? Yes, it's done. It's done. Now it's time to just be, right? Be who you are. And I think that fear, of, I don't know what this event's going to be like, and all these thoughts, and it's good. It's good for preparation. But I think when you become overwhelmed with it, it causes paralysis. And that's what we have to be careful of. But as far as sticking your tongue out adversity, I've done it so many times. And a lot of times when someone tells me, no, you cannot do this. And I know in my heart and my gut, my intuition tells me, yes, not only you can, but you need to. You need to do this for good reason. And I think we have to learn to follow that moral compass and our gut. We do not do that enough.
Agreed. And you pretty much alluded into saying, we have to look for opportunities, right? So they don't feel limited. And I know your story is also a testament to the belief the universe has resources for everyone. And I've had personal experience, which you witnessed as well. So how did you find opportunities for yourself, and how has your propensity for jumping into new paths helped you in, especially in the COVID situation, it's COVID affected world? How has your flexibility helped you to succeed?
Great question. So adversity, right? That's the topic. In the Chinese language, and I always had a little symbol by my desk when I was at the State Chamber. And adversity, the symbol, if you look at adversity and you look at opportunity, it's really hard to decipher which one it is. Mm-hmm. And I believe in that when an adversity happens, if you can only see the bad in it, you're never going to see the good in it. And most of my business is based on adversity. If everything was good, Chaya, you would not need me. Everything's great. I don't need a consultant. I don't need anybody to fix my problem, which is what I love to do most. I love to find problems and then solve them. So in COVID was no different. COVID was actually amazing. And I think if you're open to the universe and you're really paying attention, the universe is going to speak to you. And by that, I mean, it isn't woo woo, like, you sit and like, talk to trees and rocks. It's more of tapping into your resources that you've cultivated. So at my age and with all the experience that I've had, I have really gained an extraordinary network of resources. So I'm surrounded by these incredible people, yourself included, that are genuine resources to me at any given time. And the LLC that we started during COVID happened because of someone asking me for help. Do you know where I could find masks, gloves, resources for the hospitals, first responders? And it was a real problem. And the thought of, here we go again, a voice being bigger than myself, I've got to help these people. There's my nephew is an emergency doctor in the Air Force, and I couldn't imagine him being in a hospital working on people and get infected, or anybody really that's doing good, that they wouldn't have the resources that they need. So again, it was something bigger than myself that I was able to lend a voice to, and having the know-how, the background. I've got great friends in the small business development centers, the small business administration. That's how you and I met. I was consulting with the Small Business Development Center, and, my job is to go in and look at a business and say, they're doing this right, but what could they do, to become more of a gazelle company? And it's the same thing that I do when someone comes to me, whether they're a company or a relationship in my personal life. What is it that's happening? How can I help them? And what do I need to do? And if I can't do it, who can I call? And I've got a great, phone connection that goes on overseas, and it was great because now I ended up starting, an LLC with someone in California and someone in Florida, and it was totally by the phone. There are those individuals outside that are saying, I'm afraid to pick up the phone and make a cold call, whether you're in sales or marketing. I started 2 companies in the middle of COVID, because it was necessary. And what else are you going to do? I was bored too. Someone like me, can you imagine being in the house and not being able to get out? It's, what else would you do?
That's very true. One thing they say, it's adversities. I think many of us pass through at our different stages of our lives. But one thing, they say happiness can be found even in the darkest times. Or if only you remember to turn the light on.
Yes.
So I think you also mentioned something during the conversation about earlier when we were talking. You said, stick your tongue out at adversity. So, you already talked about it, but I really want to know something very specific, any specific experience in your career that encouraged you into leadership.
Yeah, there's been so many, where I've had to, go through crisis, major crisis. And I would say with the State Chamber of Commerce, we've had many years, I was with them, and my direct report, the president, went through quite a bit, and I learned from her as a mentor, and was involved in very adverse situations, and it really made me examine myself as a leader and my moral compass as well. What is it that's important to me in business? And I'm not going to sacrifice that. I'm not going to sacrifice my health, and I'm not going to sacrifice my moral compass when I stick my tongue out. That's what I always think. I'm going to stand up for what's right. And if it's something that it jeopardizes my integrity or my reputation, I'm going to stick my tongue out at that adversity and turn it around. So it was a very, very dark time for me. And, but I will tell you that during that adversity, so many wonderful things happened. And, my former boss, who was the president of the State Chamber, we're still very close. We ended up pivoting, zigzagging into these remarkable careers, that I never imagined I would be a part of, whether it was insurance or going down to Delaware, getting involved in health benefits, cybersecurity. It opened up so many doors. Once, like you said, that darkness, you put light on it. The light opens these great avenues of opportunity that, when you're sitting in the dark, you're thinking, oh, this is terrible. As I'm sure many people during COVID are thinking, what am I going to do? This is all I know how to do. But if you really sit and contemplate, there are so many things that you know how to do. There are so many skill sets that you can cultivate. And if you don't have them, go get them. I have so many licenses and certifications, and some of them only took 2 weeks, right? But here's the thing, when you stick your tongue out, you have to make sure that you have good backup, right? You just don't do it on a whim. You've got to be pretty bold. Along with that boldness comes grace and grit. You have to have the grace about you to go through that situation, not reacting emotionally, but having a level head and having the grit, the determination and the persistence to get through it, and then allow yourself to heal and move on to the next opportunity. Knowing when to zig and when to zag is probably the most important part of being resilient and overcoming adversity. You can't sit in it because you're not going to go anywhere, right? You're going to be in inertia, and it's only going to get worse. You got to get up and move.
Great point. I was reading a couple of days ago from National Women's Law Center. They were saying that due to COVID, women who have to be, a virtual professional and also a full-time caregiver and balancing between family and everything, they're anticipating about, I think it's in September itself, there were close to 1 million women who were out of employment. And they're expecting more to happen in the future months. So this is a great advice for women who are kind of struggling between so many things, and many of them are leaving the jobs because of the job pressure and also having to take care of the family. I think there are jobs for everybody, right? You just have to pick the one that suits you and your lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a great time, because you're home, right? And I understand homeschooling. My youngest was a US gymnast, and I did homeschooling before it was, mandatory here in the state. And it was a higher grade, junior high and high school, and working at the state chamber, a wonderful job. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, and then traveling with her, all over the country. Oftentimes, again, adversity forces you to unpeel that onion and see the strength, see the skill sets that you really have that you just never were prompted to let loose, right? Like if you didn't have to, you wouldn't, right? But sometimes adversity gives you that little nudge that, you need to say, whoa, you take your sunglasses off and say, wow, that's amazing. As I know you have, and you're offering it, even with women with SheTek, that's another area most of us had never had to deal with. Me, myself in particular, I was always somebody that handled Zoom, Meg, thank God for Meg. If I had to be the one hosting it, I don't know what would be upside down. Everybody be all confused, but, we're lucky we have Meg. So I think even something that little, taking a Zoom class and upgrading your technology skills, let's face it, we need them. You're not going to move ahead without those skill sets. And women are wonderful in technology, no? I mean, look at you, Chaya, right?
Yeah, I believe
in technology.
That's the whole motivation behind SheTek. If I always think if I can do this, anyone can do. Yeah. So great points, Carol. I think one thing you touched upon is learning new skills is important, and also finding the resources that can help you. Most of the times we are stuck with our problems and we don't ask for help. I mean, even for me, even for the success of the company or everything that I'm doing for SheTek or Softkin, everything, there's a humongous support around me. This support system that's what makes me, progress. And I think we all need to recognize that. And, we can have a separate topic around networking. Building.
Oh, yeah.
You're wonderful at that. And I think it has to be a separate topic. But I think the more we talk and ask for help, especially in these challenging times, I think we always find a solution.
Or, here's another thought, Chaya, that you'll be inspired. You'll be inspired to tap into your own resources as well. It isn't only just about, a lot of women really do not like asking for help. They feel uncomfortable about it. So if you look at it as more of it being inspired by other women that have done it and say, wow, if she can do it, I can too, right? And we have been blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing women that have had that impact on us, right? Whether it's Sister Lucy or Mary Morrissey, all these amazing women that we've met, or, some of the women, the other inspirational women in the outlet, that you have. I just think it's a wonderful investment in your time, to take a lunch hour, and it may just be that spark plug or infusion that you need to say, wow, that's just, I never even thought to do that. That's just great.
And also never underestimate anyone, right? So you might meet people at different occasions and think of, I still remember we met Joanna in
Yes.
events, and we both were talking to her, and then it evolved from there, and then this whole SheTek thing, and then Joanna introduced us to Bethany, and then I went to Bob Proctor event along with you, and then we were at that great event. It's just unbelievable how these connections can go and where they can take you, right?
Yes. You and I ended up in India together.
Very humbled with that, yeah. The people around me, I'm really humbled. I feel blessed, yeah.
Me as well. I mean, all of us, we ended up in India together, right?
Yes.
I have my earrings on today. I said, I'm going to wear my earrings. It's just wonderful. And, part of the reason, was such an amazing journey, from Princeton, New Jersey to India, right? The journey was so amazing because here we are every day speaking, to the developers, the community within PamTen, and helping them to understand what is a chamber of commerce, what is it that we're doing here in America. In India, they're thinking this and we're thinking that, and to be able to go there and to be in a communal, really fascinating environment where we shared, all of our expertise and our knowledge. It was just priceless, to be able to do that. So thank you again.
Sure. I mean, I think we learn from each other every day.
Yes, we do.
So I'm going to switch the gears a little bit here, being, a technology-focused group also. So I want to learn a little bit more about what made you start Seven Pearls, your risk management company. And can you tell us how you saw the opportunities for risk management in the business environment? And I would like to really understand what triggered you to start that and what
Sure.
motivated you to start that company. And was that related to some of the risks in your life that made you, passionate about this risk management? So what helps you to decide to take some risks? And there's also something, and you can't just jump and take any risk, right? So you got to think about what's the, as you mentioned earlier, calculated risk versus a risk that you just hastily jump into, right? So
Right.
Give us something related to your life that prompted you to establish Seven Pearls, and give us a little bit information about Seven Pearls and risk management.
Sure. So when I ended, let's go back to the state chamber, right? So it was the most amazing experience, because we had thousands of member companies. And, part of what I did was I was really a cheerleader. I was able, to encourage those businesses to get out there and meet people, do networking. We had the largest premier networking event of the year. It was a big train trip. And, I was really, really good at facilitating, bringing people together, just like the women's event that you were at. It comes naturally to me to do that. But when I saw my career kind of going in a different direction, I started analyzing my behavior and saying to myself, yeah, you did a good job as being a cheerleader, but what did you really do, with those companies? And, it was very interesting, Chaya, because I did have the mindset, I did have a little bit of a a clue as to what was going to happen. And we need to pay attention to those clues. You know, life oftentimes will do something and it's right there in front of you and you ignore it, right? So twice it happened at the state chamber where, number one, I was really involved in procurement, you know, and I was trying to get the companies, the larger companies that needed goods from the smaller companies. And I thought, you know, this is a great way to bring together everybody. The smaller companies need the larger companies. How are we going to pull it together? And we did an amazing job. We had a huge expo at the Raritan Center, came up with a trademark called Biz Bond. We were able to connect these companies by matchmaking. And it really was a great experience. And it took me out of that role of cheerleader to facilitator and problem solver, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing that happened was it wasn't only just the procurement, but I realized that the businesses needed help. Some of the smaller businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, not necessarily the larger ones, they all had issues that were very, very different. So at Seven Pearls, there's 7 areas of risk that businesses take. You know, it could be human resources where you have, you know, issues. It could be sexual harassment. It could be your employee manual. It could be anything. It could be legal, you know, where, you know, we talk about succession planning or, you know, are you in compliance with the laws every year? It's really difficult for small to medium-sized businesses to have the resources that the larger businesses have. You know, they don't have a legal department. They don't have a technology. They don't have a, you know, an IT specialist. They're struggling, you know, just to, you know, they're always doing a doggy paddle. So that, again, bigger than me, I had to figure out how do I, you know, make this happen. So when I left the chamber, I went into risk management. I was with a division of Marsh & McLennan. And, you know, part of what my role was to create the branding and marketing for mergers and acquisition in the small to medium-sized market. And, you know, the Affordable Care Act came about. So I had to educate myself about this new bill, which came naturally to me because of my lobbying. And then I had to plan events wrapped around it so that we could educate the clients. So even though it seems like I've got this crazy life of diverse, you know, skill sets, and even my children are like, Mom, we don't even know what you do. Every time, you know, someone asks me what you do, we don't even know what to say. But I make sense of it. I make sense of it and take that thread that you talked about and weave it, you know, when I need to. It's not always, but Seven Pearls really made sense to me. It made a lot of sense. And I took all of that skill set and I wrapped it up into a business that could truly help small to medium-sized businesses that were really in trouble, just like they are now. So at that time, it was the Affordable Care Act, and a lot of them were very bewildered. We don't know what to do. So, you know, I really credit Lorraine Allen, who you know. I brought her into the state chamber, and she did consulting for all of the small to medium-sized businesses with the state chamber with me. She just recently retired. You know, we're still really good friends. So we're talking, you know, 25 years of an amazing relationship. I go back to the beginning when we were talking. It's about being curious, having those relationships, but really getting the help that you need. So I contacted people I knew that were really good in this kind of consulting, whether it was procurement or, you know, helping them develop their business plan and then moving on. And then I just, also the reason I developed it was because someone asked me to. When I was leaving the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, when another mentor of mine in life and health insurance, Paige Elliott, he said to me, Carol, in 3 months, I'm bringing you on as an international channel partner. We're going to go into cybersecurity. And I'm thinking, cybersecurity? This is crazy. Here I go again. It's another one of these, you know, all right. So I studied it, and sure enough, I ended up coming full circle. I ended up doing programming in all the, you know, universities in the state. It was really a problem. Businesses were being hacked. They were held up for ransom. Again, bigger than myself. You know, I really was called to help these businesses once again. So that was the catalyst, you know, really for Seven Pearls, was to have almost like smaller resources in a box to help them, not very expensive, find the resources for them, attorneys, accountants, cyber specialist, HR specialist, all these specialists that were going to help me help them. Of course, I couldn't do all of that myself. So that's really the birth of Seven Pearls, and whether it was in Delaware or New Jersey or New York, it was great linkage for all these companies that were really struggling. So even now, I find myself going back, to Seven Pearls again.
It's interesting, Carol, how you weaved in all your strengths. So it's a lot of times when people say cybersecurity, they think this is all related to technology. I don't know anything about it. So here you are talking about, bringing in first of all, your curiosity to learn something. I mean, to learn something about cybersecurity is not rocket science. Nobody's asking us to program or create
Right.
products to take care of the cyber attacks. It's all about just learning what is cybersecurity, what it means, and then you brought in your networking skills, right? And then you brought in your event management skills, and you're able to hold those events, and then networked and connected with people, and you got great qualities in terms of building wonderful relationships and continuing on them. So what your leadership skills, everything you brought together. And all you had to do is, as icing on the cake, you learned about cybersecurity. And then you're able to make sense out of this. And then you felt that you can lead this and then create this company. I mean, how many of us really sit back and think about what are the capabilities I have that I can leverage and in these difficult times, right? So I don't stick to one thing. Let me also explore what all I can do. With the skills that I already have, and I've created a great credible journey, and you have so much credibility in the market, and then you prove yourself, and you're now trying to complement and leverage your capabilities. I think a lot of people miss that.
Thank you. I'll take it a step further, Chaya, with the cybersecurity. I decided to go back to my roots as well as a lobbyist. So I have a partner, Barry Lafkowitz, with MGR too. And, I'm once again very involved with the legislators and lobbying on causes that are really, really important, to all of us here in the state of New Jersey. So how wonderful is it to go back to my roots and really be part of historical, legislation that I can say, I went to the table, I spoke with that senator who sponsored that bill and really made a difference in the lives of people, right? So it started small, maybe doing hair and changing the confidence for some man or woman to another level, right? But those baby steps and that education along the way is really important. But going back to the cybersecurity, I'll give you a great example. So learning what I did about not only cybersecurity, but blockchain enabled me and my partner, Barry, to acquire a client in San Diego. And we were working on medical marijuana legislation and the problem of cash in the country, that marijuana, cannabis, is illegal federally. So a lot of the individuals, owners of dispensaries, grows, really were having a big problem with being able to use their currency. So I met somebody in California that taught me about blockchain and how do you do that? And as soon as you started talking, I said, I understand this. I know about this, right? And I flew to San Diego. And we were able, to really do some interesting work. And it was just the beginning of getting back into some very exciting projects that we're working on, including, PPE and coming up with some revolutionary products, nano coating on surfaces that last for 2 years so that we don't stress our labor and having to disinfect everything. Or how do the casinos handle every chip that you touch? These are big problems that really need regulation and some science behind it. I don't understand photocatalytic oxidation, but I'm working with a company that does. And I know that they're going to be able to be, the answer for all of these, schools and companies that need to get back to work. And, those are the things that excite me. I get really excited. It isn't just about cybersecurity. So I'm so glad you mentioned it. And there's a thing, I always taught my sales team, don't build fences. We tend to build fences. I'm going to work 9 to 5. Or here's my fence. I'm only going to go this far because I don't know what'll happen if I go beyond that fence. And I had a salesperson that always believed they could not sell in July. For some reason, Chaya, he believed that everybody in the state of New Jersey went on vacation in July. And as long as he thought that, he believed it. So I planned an event in July and 200 people came. And I stuck my tongue out at him and said, see? So there's an example of me sticking my tongue out at what was perceived to be adversity. And it wasn't. It was in his head.
Right.
And took down the fence and said, no, there's no limitation. We put our own fences up.
Yeah, very true. That's a perfect statement. I think it applies to many. We need to break that fence and we have to think out of the box. Yeah. So we are almost coming to an end. We probably want to leave some time for the questions, audience questions. I have a question. Do you have any advice for the SheTek audience about how they could reach into themselves and encourage their own bold qualities, more to do around boldness? And how can someone learn to flex these muscles?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the first thing is doing what they're doing today. They're investing in themselves. They're investing in an hour of their time. And even if they get one little jewel, something they can take away, it's worth the hour, right? So the investment in your time, you're worth it. The other is whether it comes from, outside or inside, develop that confidence, right? And don't be afraid to ask for it. And, to be a little more assertive, if you feel like, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm afraid, do like Eleanor Roosevelt, do one thing that's scary every day. And you know what, do it afraid, do it shaking. The first time I gave a speech, my knees were shaking. And I had a coach that said to me, it's not about you. It's just not about you. You may think it's about you, but it's not. It's about your audience, and they need to hear your message. So if you have to do it shaking and stuttering or whatever, get out there and do it. Because the more you do it, the less you're going to shake. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And what we talked about, really summarizing all the resources that are out there for you, networking, there's so many groups. And look, if I could do it sitting home on the phone, create 2 companies, anybody could do it. It's really just listening to yourself, following that gut intuition, and then listening to other people. I listen, believe it or not, I listen a lot. I tend to talk a lot, but I listen probably more than I talk.
Yeah,
that's really important. I'd like to read just a couple quotes too, I want to read them because I don't want to get it wrong, but Steve Jobs, I think this is really important. And he had such a life, being adopted, and if anybody should have failed, it was him. I learned things about him that I never knew. And he said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. That would be my advice, from him. But it's really, write your story and then live it, right?
Yeah, that reminds me Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, right? Live a life that you want to live all over again.
Yes, that's a great one. I've never heard that. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. Yeah, I'll give you one more and then I'm gonna stop. I feel very philosophical today. Also, Eleanor Roosevelt. So you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face.
Yeah.
And that's really true. And even though at the time you think, I am not confident, I am scared to death, I do not feel strong. But when that's over, you'll realize that, just by being courageous and just stepping out a little bit, you're definitely going to be stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. We all have gone through those experiences.
So
And
thank you,
yeah,
Chaya.
thank you so much for today's session. Yeah, such an interesting discussion. As I said, we can go for days and days talking like this. So I want to bring Meg back on, yes, to see if we have any questions from the audience.
We do. Just real quick, we had a comment from Gina in the audience. She said, great inspirational stories shared. Thank you. So that was some nice feedback. Thank you, Gina. So we had two questions from Anne over in our audience. Anne has been a great member of the Outlet and has been to a few of our events. She said that Carol mentioned to tap into your own resources. She said she wanted to know if you had any recommendations for what resources are available for focusing on your skills. Do you have any favorites?
I do. And, money's a little tight right now, right? We're all, in this COVID situation, but my favorite resource is the small business development centers. They are funded by the Small Business Administration. There are a dozen of them. It's easy to remember. And depending on where Anne lives, there is one in her neck of the woods, and it is free. It doesn't cost anything, and they are so helpful.
That's great. Another question. Did you have a recommendation, Chaya? Was there anything that you would recommend?
No, I'm just thinking, yeah, that's a wonderful response what Carol gave. I mean, that yeah, as a business, we also did that. We reached out to them, and that's how Carol and me met first time. But I think it's also, you got to be curious. You have to question and talk to people around you, learn, because people who have different perspective than what you see things as, right? So, and I'm talking to people, sometimes they open my eyes. They say something that I think, oh, why didn't I think about it? So it's also important to ask around, talk to people, find if there are any additional resources like Anne is doing today. She's asking in the webinar. But Google is my best buddy. I go onto Google, search for so many things. I find many resources online as well. And it's also important to build your network and use your contacts within your network. Ask these questions, and somebody might have an answer for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Meg, I consider Chaya and I resources. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with me personally, I'm happy to help them,
Yeah, I mean, we all are ready to help.
All right, great. We had one more question from Anne. Lily did send us in another quick feedback. She mentioned that she's so impressed that you are both so proactive in doing things that matter so much in our society today. You guys are both out there really making a big difference. So that was really nice of you to say, Lily. Thank you.
So much, yeah.
Anne had one more question for us. She mentioned, do either of you have any advice on how to really find or tap into your confidence or your power within? I know that resonates with me always when I hear both of you talk about really tapping into that confidence. Any pointers for somebody that might not be sure how to get there?
So I'm a really big believer in holistic medicine. I think that in order for you to feel confident, you have to be healthy. You have to be healthy spiritually, physically, mentally, and surround yourself by positive people and try to eliminate as much negativity in your life as possible. And, that's going to instill confidence, because if you're surrounded by people that really value you, how could you not be confident, right? And I just think your body is an amazing thing. What you tell yourself, it manifests. So if you have negative thinking, you'll become sick, right? And if you don't feel well, if you start taking care of yourself physically, you feel better, mentally. We all know when we have a cold and our nose is running and our head's clogged, we don't feel too confident, right? But as soon as it goes away, we can think clearly. And I think that goes with what you read, what you watch, everything that you take into your body, not only food physically, but what you see. Think about your senses. Try to limit the negativity, because that's going to really foster confidence.
Yeah, I agree, Carol. I think being healthy is the most important thing, right? Your mental health, physical health, everything is so important. I used to be a very, very shy person, and also with probably low esteem as a kid, right? And even as a young adult, especially I lost my parents at an early age, and There was nobody there to tell me that you got to be confident, you have to learn this or do this. A lot of things that I've achieved in my life were all due because I was pushing myself to do something, to prove myself that I can do. It's funny the way I always looked at things, why can't I do it? I should be able to do it. So for me, it was always building confidence was always about being myself, believing in myself and being myself. I never tried to imitate anyone in my life. And I'll share a very funny story that my mother told me. She had open heart surgery. She had scheduled. She was scheduled for in the month of April, and then she was going through severe pain, and she wanted to prepone that surgery to January. And he was a world famous doctor, and it's very hard to find the appointment from him. And everybody kind of discouraged her, saying that it's impossible. You have to wait till April. And she said, I need to meet him and talk to him. Otherwise, I could even die without any option, right? And she said she made the decision to go and talk to him. And she never spoke English. And the doctor didn't speak our language. And then finally she pushed for an appointment. She got the appointment. She said, I don't want anyone with me. I'm going to go talk to him. She eliminated all the negativity. She went into the office. And then she came back and she got the surgery preponed to January. And that was the biggest thing, lessons learned for me that, you can do what you want to do if you're determined to do it. And two, never underestimate yourself. She never switched her mind from the goal. She wanted to prepone it. And she went. And I asked her, Mom, how could you even talk to that world famous doctor? You don't even speak English. Right? And the only answer she gave me was, I didn't have to talk. I had to express my pain, my feelings. And he understood. Language is not a barrier when you have to express yourself. That was the first lesson. And second thing she said is, I'm not afraid of talking to people, whoever it is. They're fellow humans. Do you know that they brush just like us in the morning? Shower like us? It was like a completely different perspective, gave me a different, view to the world. And that was the first step that I felt that, I don't have to be scared of anybody to talk to them. So little lessons like this give us a lot more confidence to be what we are. And Carol also said before, when you start to see some success in yourself, it keeps adding to that confidence. You have to build the confidence. In order to build the confidence, you have to acknowledge what you have done and you should celebrate it. Then only you will start, improving your self-respect. And that's what is going to lead into self-confidence.
Yeah. Meg, I also think we never mentioned the word fun, right? So I think humor is really important. Chaya, you made me remember what I loved to do when I was a kid, and I loved to roller skate, right? But I would fall down all the time. I was always falling. But I became a really good roller skater, and I was always having fun. So if you think about that, to build the confidence, you're going to fall down, but you have to learn to laugh at yourself, and have fun along the way. Oftentimes, we think, oh, it's a job, and oh, scary, so everything's so like, ooh. But if you just think along the way, like, look at all these wonderful people. I met Chaya. I meet people all the time. Look, Joanna Black, or, Joanne that works with you, and all the wonderful people that are with you. These are great people that I really still enjoy being around, and that's fun, right? So I think it's your attitude too it'll help you. If you have a great attitude, even though you're feeling like, I don't think I could do this, but you're smiling and you're saying, oh yeah, I could do this. Just try, even when you're on the phone, just smile, and even if you don't feel confident, pretend, act, be an actress for a day. Just walk around like, I'm happy. People are going to start to ask you, like, what are you doing? What are you drinking? What are you taking? Because you're so happy.
I still have to learn that from you, Carol. I still have to learn that from you.
Before you know it, you're just going to be happy, okay? You have a choice. You could either walk around, frowning all day long, or you could be happy, right?
Very true.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for being a part of today's episode of The Outlet. It's been a really great one. We're seeing lots of really happy feedback from everybody. So that's been a really great thing for me to see here. I'd just like to take a quick second to tell everybody a little bit about SheTek and invite everybody to come and join us at the SheTek Power community. You'll find us at SheTek.net. You'll actually have your little post-webinar URL will come up with our follow-up webinar discussion. So come share your stories with us. The SheTek mission is to increase the number of women in the tech staffing pipeline, and we do this through engaging, empowering, and employing women who are just like you. Engage with us in our community's active discussion board. We regularly post new topics to discuss that are relevant to you in your career. You can connect with top women in tech around the country like Carol and Chaya, learn from them, and then share your learnings with others. The community even has a revolutionary matchmaking system based on the interests and skills that you put into your profile, which makes it an ideal place for you to find a mentor like you. You can empower yourself with the SheTek community resources, like the webinar that we're all attending today. We offer training in top tech skills like Tableau, Salesforce, DevOps, and more to increase your skills, bulk up your resume, and help you get hired. Catch on-demand trainings on that SheTek YouTube channel I mentioned earlier. Use our free downloadable worksheets to set effective goals, develop self-branding strategies. You'll even find other resources available for download. You'll find all the tools that you need to increase your tech skills over there. And if you don't see what you want, let us know and we'll build it out for you. Finally, get employed using our SheTek Community Careers page. We post hot new tech opportunities around New Jersey, New York, and the rest of the United States every week, from highly skilled and highly paid roles to entry-level positions suited for those just getting started in tech. We've got a position available for everyone. Stop by SheTek Careers, find your next opportunity today. Don't forget to go and post your comment on our follow-up thread. You'll see it right there on your screen. I'd love to really hear all of your own success stories. Come join us and keep following our events, and we'd love to see you again at the outlet. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Meg, and thanks, Carol, for your time today.
Oh, thank you both. It was really great. Let's do it again.
Yeah, enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Be well, everyone.
You too. Thank you.